Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pets Plus Live Beyond the Pages of the Magazine. While I can't see you and I can't hear you, I can see your comments in the chat. So please type your name in the chat feed so they know that you're with us. You know, we record these shows live, so I love to have engagement with our audience. You can type your questions during the show or even after, because we load replays of our Pets Plus Live Beyond the Pages. We load them onto Facebook and to YouTube. So if you've never seen the shows or if you want to catch up on a bunch of old ones, we have over a year's worth of amazing interviews with some amazing pet bosses, petpreneurs, entrepreneurs in the pet industry. And I'd love for you to take a look back at all of those awesome interviews because there's tips, tricks, inspiration, so much that you can take away to apply to your own business. I'm your show host, Candace Daniolo, a pet business coach and the founder and lead consultant at Pet Boss Nation. I'm also a former retailer and doggy daycare owner and a regular columnist for Pets Plus magazine. And that's why we're here. Behind me is last month's issue, but this is this month's issue for September. It's got awesome stuff in it, as usual, tons of business building tips inside. And what we do is this Beyond the Pages show is we get to go beyond the pages, literally, where we get to interview experts and contributors, cool stores, and amazing people to go deeper into the article, and also to give you an opportunity to ask us questions. And tonight, we're talking about past lives, past careers, things that people did before they opened their pet store. And we have 5 amazing guests joining us. I think we had some technical difficulties, but we've got 4 to 5 amazing people with us tonight who are going to share their careers. But like I said, we've got a chat. I want to know what you did before you came into the pet industry. So please share it in the comments with us. I have had many hats. I was a lifeguard early on. I worked at a water park, and then I worked for Disney. I did a little bit at Disney in college. And then after college, I wanted to work at a big ad agency. I always wanted to work at a big ad agency. And then I realized that corporate America and cubicles were horrible and Excel spreadsheets. And so I ended up leaving that business and opening a mural painting business at the age of 23. That was nuts, but I did it. And that led me to working for a children's furniture store because I needed to find clients. And who better to hire a children's muralist than somebody who's looking for furniture for their new kids' room? And so I met clients there. And then working at a children's furniture store made me realize I loved retail. I loved retail so much. So I ended up working with a friend at her little pet boutique bakery and worked there for 2 years. And I was fortunate enough, I got to play business with somebody else's business, which was a lot of fun. But what it taught me there is that, gosh, I want to do this for myself. I want to own my own business. So we sold theirs and I started my own. And now here we are today, almost 16 years later, and I get to talk to you amazing people, and I get to interview these amazing people on this show tonight. So let's get into it. This article was awesome. I loved hearing all of the really unique and interesting things that pet professionals all over the country are doing, and we're going to introduce them to you now. All right, Adrian Archie, are you with us? Come on live. Come on down. Adrian.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, let me turn. Yep, let me make it bigger. Here we go. All right. Oh, you're all on now. Okay, cool. Everybody turn their cameras and their mics on. We can do this down together. Adrian. Okay, Adrian, you're with Pet in Mind in Coconut Creek, Florida. Awesome.
Yes.
Welcome. Thanks for being with us tonight. And we also have Terri Ellen. Terri Ellen is with Nature's Pet Market and Sunny Paws Grooming in Salem, Oregon, all the way on the other side of the country. I'm in Chicago, so we've got all of the bases covered, I guess, right? And then Tammi, boy, thank you for being here with Wishbone Pet Care. And you are in Texas, Missouri, yes. Texas. All right, and then down in the corner there, we've got Keefer Dickerson with Nashville Pet Products. And they are in Nashville, naturally, and the surrounding areas. But I saw online that you have a location in Wisconsin.
We do, yeah. We have 5 stores in Middle Tennessee and our 6th location in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. That's a story for a whole nother episode.
Okay. We'll have to do part 2 of this interview. I love it.
Right.
And we may be getting Michael Morris joining us later. I think he might be having some technical difficulties from Yarn and Bone Pet Supply Company in Camden and Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So he might be joining us later. Well, thank you everybody for coming in and devoting your time tonight. I know you're busy, and so to make time for Pets Plus Magazine and myself, we really truly appreciate it. So thank you. Now, what I would love to do is we're going to dig in deeper into each one of your stories, sharing with us your insights and words of wisdom that you can bestow on all of us, all of the rest of us. So I would like to start with Adrian. We're going to start with you. You are, I think it was so fun in this article. Let me pull it up here. To see you. This is you, right? This picture's you?
That's me in 2003.
Yeah, you got a little bit more hair there.
yeah. I had some long hair back then.
Oh, I love it. So Adrian, you are a former NFL player and with the CFL. So tell us about your previous career and how it led you to open Pet in Mind.
Sure. Well, going back to when I was very young, I think about 3 years old, but my mom is listening tonight, so she could vouch for it, that I actually said at the time when I was a kid that I wanted to own a pet store and be a veterinarian and have the pet store right beside of it. And throughout life, I worked at veterinarians and did everything I needed to do to actually go to vet school. And I actually started pre-vet in college and made it to the end of my sophomore year and decided to switch majors for various reasons. Yeah. And obviously, I played football all of my life since I was 6 years old. Sorry. And I did play in NFL briefly. I played in the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, for 2 years in 2003 and 2004. And then I played in the NFL very briefly in 2005 and got released in that process. And at that point, I had been cut and released 3 times, and I was over professional football. I did it for 16 years of my life, and I knew I could do other things, and I left on my own terms and stopped pursuing it and moved on. From there, I went into medical devices for one of the major medical devices companies, one of the top 5 in the world, and I was with them for almost 9 years. And I decided to leave them and follow my passion, which I had years ago. I'm 38 now. When I left the company, I was 34 years old, and decided to follow my passion, which is animals and pets, and get back to what I love. What I learned from those 2 primary careers in my life, because I did a few other things, but those are the 2 markers. One, football is really work ethic. You learn in football, especially when you get to the higher levels, that it's about every play, every snap in practice, watching film, doing all the little things, waking up on time, going to class on time, just the little things that really helped me as an entrepreneur now. I mean, my business is going on 3 years old. So one of the toughest things early on is just the grind of it and getting through those tough days. Early on, it was just me every day. Really getting the business off the ground, and it took me back to football on practicing every day and watching film every day and doing all the little things that build up to the bigger picture. So that's how a lot of things in football helped me to where I am now, but that's probably the most salient thing that sticks out. And then medical devices is I sold drills and saws for brain surgery. There's a particular instruments that I sold. So I work with neurosurgeons and spine surgeons particularly. And I really learned how to convey information to customers, very highly educated customers with neurosurgeons, but conveying information in a way that you help the customer find a solution. And I find, especially in my area, that's one of the biggest lacking things that pet parents have, is the information is just not out there. So finding a solution for them, but truly finding a solution, not just picking a product out, but understanding what I have in my store, why it works with particular pets and the issues they're going through, and being able to recommend that in a way that builds trust and finds a solution for them. And then combining those 2 things is I learned throughout football and medical devices, because in medical devices, you have to know the product really well and how it's used in somebody's brain or somebody's spine in order to sell it. to a highly educated surgeon. And in football, you really have to know your opponent. You really have to know the play calls and the checks you're going to make depending on what they do. So I learned early on that I'm a learner. I love to learn. And I take pleasure in it. And that's really helped me as an entrepreneur, is that I'm not afraid of the unknown or afraid of stepping out into something different and bringing a new product in or starting a company, leaving the comfort of corporate America. It's because I know I'm going to learn my way through anything that I encounter. So that's kind of how the two come together, but that's me in a nutshell.
You know, I'd love to expand on that further, actually, because before you said that you love to learn, and I wonder if this helps you get out of this thing I'm going to ask you about. But it made me think about how with football and discipline and that commitment piece of how you're like, it helped me at the beginning of being there every day. But here's my question for you, though, is do you ever have the mindset issues? Did you ever feel like, did I make the right decision? What am I going to do for different? This isn't working out. Because I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, and yeah, there are people that are like super successful, but we all have our moments where we're really struggling sometimes, and we're wondering, cash flow might not be there. We're wondering if we made the right decision to do this and invest all of our money or our time. So have you had those mindset issues? But then two, how do you overcome them when they arise for you?
Sure. And let me go back because I forgot to do it. Number one, thank you for doing this, Candace, and Pets Plus Magazine and Pet Boss Nation. I learn a lot. I have a hard time keeping up with everything because I'm busy, but I learned so much from your platform. So thank you. And yeah, for sure. I left an industry that I really loved. I love being in surgery and seeing people's brains. I'm a nerd. I was a jock all my life, but I am a nerd. I love that piece of. So I miss being in surgery and being around neurosurgeons and labs and cadaver labs and all that. I really miss that. So yeah, and I'm still early on in the business and we're having success, but yeah, on a regular basis, I say, what did I do? Because even as we're growing and the community's appreciating us, I mean, I was good at what I was doing and I was making way more money than I'm making now. I mean, we're building, right? So I have those thoughts every day, but honestly, it's my faith. I believe in God. I'm a regular in church, and I base my faith on the vision that I feel like God gave me and the reason that I left, because I wasn't happy in corporate America, and I knew something that I keep my eyes above everything else that I'm going through. And I say this to my wife and some of the young people that I used to work with that I managed on my team is always stay in the middle. I have great days. I have really bad days, especially because I don't have a lot of employees at this point. It's me and a few other people. So I do a lot of the stuff. I'm at that store by myself a lot of times, and those good or bad days, I have to deal with me and I have to live with the decisions I make. And I stay in the middle. That's what I really become good at. It was football and the sales territory.
Yeah.
Advice is really high. Yes, I have those thoughts all the time, but I rely on my faith and just knowing that if I'm doing what I believe I've been told to do, that it will always work out and the provision will be there when needed.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's good for all of us because I was recently at a distributor show and I talked to one of the women there how they get through all of this. I was like, gosh, you just seem like you're so cool and collected and nothing's bothering you. You're like a well-oiled machine. And she was like, oh, you never let him see you sweat. Never let him see you.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Adrian, and we'll get back to you in a little bit here. So next up, let's go to our man. I don't know how it looks on your screen, but man to the left or the right, Keefer.
Pretty much in the middle. I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm like I can't tell, but it depends how people are looking at the screen. To me, it's on the left. All right, so Keefer, why don't you tell us about Nashville Pet Products and what you do for them?
Sure. Nashville Pet Products has been around, as you said, since 1987. We now have 5 stores in the Nashville market, the 6th in Wisconsin, and my role is as the marketing and outreach manager for the Middle Tennessee stores specifically.
Mm-hmm. And now your previous career, what they shared was entertainment, right, management. But as you've shared with me, you've worn very many, like a lot of hats. right? You've been actor, musician, radio host, blues brother, and you even put on here a hearse driver.
Yeah, that was actually more recent. When I first came to Nashville, there's a company called Nashville Ghost Tours, and a friend of mine was doing their walking tour and suggested, "Hey, you should come and see if they need an extra guide. You'd be good at this. It's storytelling. That's what you do." And one of their tours is in a hearse, so I got to drive the hearse and tell the stories about the history and hauntings of Nashville. So that was a lot of fun.
That is really cool. So tell us more, I guess, about your previous experiences and careers and how they led you to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. And thank you so much for inviting me on. This is really cool, and I really appreciate hearing the stories of Adrian. I look forward to hearing everybody else's stories too. For myself, I, as you said, started as an actor and musician in high school, college. I went to college as a theater major, and got out of college and went right into radio. Worked in several different facets in radio, and that really opened the doors to a lot of different marketing opportunities for me. As most people who have worked any kind of freelance jobs, there's always a backup job and a side hustle, and you're always looking for other work. So as I was working as an actor or musician, I would always find other jobs to fall back on, and more of those started ending up being in entertainment marketing. So when I came to Nashville, I was working for a concert promotions company. I was doing marketing for artists and tours and album releases and all kinds of different events. So that was a lot of fun. When the opportunity with Nashville Pet Products came up, it was time for me to start learning some things that were going to take me out of my comfort zone and be a little unfamiliar and be some new challenges. So it was a great opportunity and great timing for me.
I love that. Now, one of the other things that you have shared with us and some of the pre-questionnaire stuff we get is that this position that you're in is a new position, and you created it you suggested it or created it. Tell us about what you did there.
Well, I was real fortunate when, like I said, Nashville Pet Products has been around for 30 years in this market. They've never really had anybody as their marketing manager or advertising director or anything like that. It's just been kind of done piecemeal here and there as they would have an opportunity, or as they'd have somebody on staff who could do that. And when I came in, just like I said, looking for one of those side hustles between regular gigs, I thought, well, this is good. It's near my house. I love pets. It'll be fun to just help them out in the store over the holidays or whatever it might be. They saw the entertainment marketing background on my resume and said, we've been looking for somebody who might be able to help us out with our marketing. I said, well, here's what you need to do. And I listed off a few ideas, and they liked them, and they hired me and said, just learn the business for now, because I didn't know that much about retail or pet specialty. And I said, learn the business, develop the position that you'll be doing, and we'll move forward with that if it all works. And so far, so good. I've been very fortunate with them, and they're a great company. So I'm very happy with how it's all worked out.
Now, were you a customer of theirs before you applied?
Like I said, we have 5 stores in the area, and so I was a customer of theirs when I first moved to town, because there was a store near where I was living, and then I moved to a different part of town, and I didn't know they had a store close by, so I stopped shopping with them.
Yeah, well, I ask only because that's kind of a hot debate.
But they weren't marketing, so it's not my fault. Yeah. They weren't marketing.
Yeah, that's true. They weren't marketing. I love that. So the reason I ask it is because it's kind of a hot question of, as a retailer, when you put a sign up on the door that you're hiring, and then the customers apply, and you're like, well, I don't want to have to say no, because if I say no, am I going to lose them as a customer? Or what if I hire them and then I fire them and now I've lost a customer? So that's why I thought I would ask if you were or not.
That's very true.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Okay, Tammi from Wishbone. Hi. Tell us all about Wishbone.
So, Wishbone Pet Care, we do grooming, sporting, doggy daycare. And my background, I was a graphic designer in a marketing company in the University of Houston. And while working there, I adopted dogs, and I guess he taught me everything. He not just being a dog owner, I now become a pet parent. So doing that, and then I was a freelance. I have a couple clients that I was doing freelance, and one of the clients owned a doggy daycare. So I came to her facility. I was doing her website, revamp her logos and do all her marketing. And it was so fun to come to her facility. And I kind of smart on that as an idea. And I took my dog there too. And then that becomes something that I grew interest. I started doing a lot more research. When I thought about Wishbone, I actually designed everything, and I didn't even have a place yet. So a lot of stuff was just designing logo, branding, and everything. And I just kind of tucks it there. And one day I just, I feel like this is going to be something that I really want to do. And it's just start from there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've got a design, my minor's in graphic design. And I find it so much easier as a small business owner when you know how to make flyers and social media graphics, and you can get the signage you need, and you forget that that struggle is real for people who don't know how to do that stuff on their own, or they have to pay for it. So
yeah. I literally just drive home from work one day, and I came up with the name, and I was like, I don't even have a company or anything, but I decided that I'm using that as my company name, and start designing stuff there.
Sorry. Hi. What did you do in your career before you became a store dog? You didn't do a whole lot because you got in as a puppy. I always tell the dog, like, these two, Guinness and Clover, they're litter mates from the same litter, and I always say that, like, their other puppies that were in the litter had no idea that a dog store owner was going in and picking puppies. They had the best life ever coming from the shelter. They were like, anyway.
That's where my dog came from, the shelter.
Yeah. So you made a comment too. I'd love to dig a little deeper in that. You've really been good about building relationships or raising money or using the rescue angle for your business.
Yes.
So have you been able to make that work? Is that people, as store owners, like, I have adoption days, like, they don't show up? Is it turning into revenue? How do I build those partnerships with these rescues?
Well, I'm sorry, you kind of broke up the beginning of the statement. But I guess adopting a dog from a shelter, I'm start to be more involved. I was doing a lot of volunteer even before I opened my shop, and I'm very fortunate that now I have my own shop. I'm able to give back to the local community, volunteers and even donation services, giving them a place to stay if they're actually right now, as a matter of fact, we are boarding a couple dogs from the shelter for them to kind of get away from the shelter and transport them to, out of state. So I think it just part of owning a rescue dogs, I'm able to have more connect with that area. So from donating services like grooming to boardings and things like that, we able to help some of the dogs getting out from the shelter and acclimated and get more acquainted to training and the social life before they get adopted out.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying that you think that your involvement, like going the extra step and being involved with this particular rescue, has helped generate more business for you?
Yes. So what we do is we have one of these things that we send out to a welcome package we left a bunch of package at our local shelter, and we say that any dogs that get rescued, give them one of the packages, a welcome package, and they'll get free groom, or if they need a haircut, if some dogs really need a haircut, we can give them a certain discount. So we able to bring in some new customer just from that too. So it's kind of piggyback in a way that we help them, and we also have new customer coming in. And when the customer coming in, we give them a free collar with their dog tags and things like that. I think it's really important for dogs to have a tag. So that was the first piece of, too.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, collars, depending on the expense, do you let them pick their collar, or do you have a select collar?
We have this collar that we work with, this company called Red Dingo, and pretty much they have a display. So we say, here's a catalog, you pick whatever you like, and give it a name and all this stuff, and then we'll pay for that tag, and then we'll just say that whenever it's shipped back to us, we'll call you and you can come by and pick it up. It give them another chance to come back to our facility, and then it get us to know them and their pet too. It just at the beginning.
Yeah, I love that because the wholesale cost on those is not very expensive for the tag.
Yeah.
Think about how much it costs to go find a new customer, whether you pay for an advertisement or, you know, that can get high. So this is great. And you're giving them a free gift.
Yes, yes. So everybody like free gifts. So that's definitely something for them to come into our shop. And then, you know, just also helping get to know the dogs too. So it's I like it.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing with us. All right, Terri, I am messaging with Michael over here, so you may not be the last one. I was going to say last but not least. I'm like, Michael may jump on, but Tammi, tell us all about your business. Well, I actually would love to know your journey first, I guess, before you got into opening your business, Nature's Pet Market.
I'm sorry, you're cutting off. I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Oh, I was switching to Tammi. Terri, I called you Tammi. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Terri.
That's what was confusing. Okay.
This is my first time juggling this many people on camera, guys. Come on now.
Great.
And I got to watch the clock too, so I'm trying to know. So Terri, please share with us your background and experience and your past career that got you to opening Nature's Pet Market.
So I worked for Apple Computer for about 10 years. I was one of those people that walked into the print shops and taught them how to do desktop publishing and helped those printing presses disappear. And so I worked in dealer sales, customer service, regional customer service manager, and marketing manager for the country of Canada. And when I left there, it was the best job of my life. So for a job, it was the best. And when I left there, I went to work for First Data Corporation. And I don't know if you know who that is, but that is
processor.
Yes, yes. And I build relationships. I never sold on cold calling. I would do networking like crazy. I had a great career with them too. But after things developed and time goes on, it became more and more competitive. And it was not a good fit for my personality. So I had a really hard time waking up in the morning. I ended up with an ulcer. I was in pain working for this company. It was not Apple Computer. And so I decided that I was just a little bit too young to retire, but too old not to follow my passion. Only I had to figure out what my passion was. So all the time I was working for First Data in this cold, prickly, remember that cold, prickly, warm, fuzzy? I was working in this cold, prickly environment, and I decided I needed something warm, fuzzy. And so I started doing dog boarding in my home while I was working for First Data. So when it was time to follow my passion, that was it. And I went looking for a way to follow my passion. And Nature's Pet Market was it. It was 2010, right in the middle of a recession.
Sorry, yeah. Dory is obviously talking to you. She agrees 100%. You should have made this decision to move away from First Data and open your own business.
Yeah, right. What I know now is I should have done it years and years ago. Yeah. But I did it right in the middle of the recession. People thought I was crazy. I knew I was, so it was okay. And it's worked out beautifully. I have a wonderful business. I have 8 employees. We do grooming. We do lots of educational seminars, and I love parties as a marketing events. And so, it worked out really well.
I love that. Well, you've shared an interesting story about some fun experiences that you got to have at Apple.
Right.
I think that's really, not everybody gets to do what you did.
Yeah, my claim to fame, I use this all the time. My claim to fame was I did dance with Steve Jobs in Hawaii. He would hold international sales meetings every year in Hawaii. and he held a, I don't know what it was called. It was kind of a rustic movie theme party, and I still have the shirt that I wore that day.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So what was it from Apple? I can tell you're very fond of your time at Apple. So what have you taken from that to apply to your current business?
Well, oh, there's so much. I think the biggest thing that I took was confidence in myself, because Apple really pushed decision making to the front line. And so I got to I knew what the goal was, and I got to make the decisions on how to get there. And so it gained me a lot of confidence in what I was doing. And then I do the same thing with my employees. I give them the goal, I hold the vision tight, and just let them go and let them get there.
I love this so much, because I was literally just yesterday talking to some retail store owners who have a wonderful team member who they want to keep, and she's getting her degree, or she already has her degree, I can't remember, but they don't want her to go pursue this career. They want to keep her in their company and help it grow it. And they gave some great ideas, and they said, what else can we have her do? Or how else can we not have her do, but how else can we show her that we support her and want her in the company? And I said, people need to have ownership of something. They need to feel like they're adding value and contributing. And so that's exactly what you're saying that you do for your team too, is you tell them what you need, you hold the vision, kind of let them do it, which is amazing. But that is not the typical, again, mindset that I was back to Adrian, that most small business owners have. They hold that control very tight. No one can do it better than they do it. How could they possibly trust this person that they've only been working with them for a certain amount of time? Or so tell us how, you made that mindset I may have cultivated for you at Apple, but what advice would you give to shift that?
It is not easy to do, but I literally set up my business with that in mind. Right from day one, I knew that I wanted my business to operate without me. So that because I really was close to retirement age, and I knew that at some point I wanted to go play. So I set it up that my employees would be able to run my business, and they could work in the business, I could work on it. And so today I do the marketing, I do the financial stuff, and I always have to remind them of what the vision is so that they hold it. And that's sometimes very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I know that it's important, and I remind them, and I do it in as gentle a way as possible. but it works.
No, I think that's great. And thank you for sharing all of that. We're happy to have all of you here. I'm so excited that you've shared all those stories. I think each one of you has given us a lot to think about. And I can already see it. While we can't see our viewers, I can tell at home they're just writing down on their notebooks and writing down ideas. And Michael, I can see that you are logged in. We just can't see your camera or the little box. So I'm really not sure what I can do here. I'm gonna try. Nope, that turned it off for everybody. There we go. I'm not sure what happened. So Michael, we'll have to do a follow-up interview with you if we can't get this to work. but let's keep the show going here. So we have some time now that everyone has heard all of their amazing stories. If you have questions specifically for any of them, please feel free to type it in the comment section. We have Adrian, Keefer, Tammi, and Terri with us. But I've got some other great questions here, so we're gonna keep moving along. All right, now for this portion, I would love it if you have an answer, please feel free to raise your hand, and I'll call on you guys. It's a two-part kind of question answer, so if you just want to answer the first one, that's great, and if the second one, we can go there afterwards. All right, so I want to know what your previous career or company that you worked for, and it doesn't have to be one that we talked about specifically tonight. I'm curious what they did really well that is currently being missed out in the pet industry. Whether you know in your own business you're dropping the ball on that and they did it really well, or you can see it within the industry. Okay, Adrian, you go first.
I'll start. Coming from medical devices, they do a really good job of getting the voice of the customer, is what they call it. What does the customer want, not what does the industry think the customer needs? And they do a really good job of getting the voice of the customer and figuring out what product is next and how it should feel. And obviously medical device is a little bit different, but I think my experience with the pet industry thus far, especially, I have a holistic store. So we do all natural dog and cat, and we also have a self-wash, but we focus on all natural food. And I think sometimes the industry you see all these different things coming out, and sometimes it just doesn't fit what the customer actually needs and what solution they're looking for. And I think sometimes the pet industry, as they're going towards that next big thing and what's going to drive revenue for the manufacturer, I think they sometimes forget what actually on the ground the retailer and ultimately the customer needs. And I think medical devices does a really good job of touching base with the customer and the surgeon, because the surgeon is the customer and the patient. Whereas in retail, in the pet industry, I'm a customer as the retailer. But you also have a dog and a cat and a pet parent that is the customer as well. And I think that's often forgotten about in the pursuit of coming out with the next grain-free or the next dehydrated product.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I do think a lot of times the manufacturers haven't really thought about the full supply chain and everything and all of the parts of what can the manufacturer do to support the retailer to educate the customer, or if exactly. But the reverse can happen too, just to play devil's advocate too, where a retailer sometimes makes demands of a manufacturer distributor that if their customer made those demands on them, they'd be like, can you believe this person just asked me that? And then they're going back to the distributor and kind of demanding the same thing. So, we need to remember that for the whole ecosystem to work, we have to work together.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, Terri.
So I think Apple was really good at holding that vision, changing the world one computer at a time. And I think they're still doing it. But so I've translated it in my business, changing the world one pet at a time, changing the health of a pet, one pet parent at a time. We talk to every single pet parent that walks in the door and understand their needs. And it's education. It was education in the computer world back in 1984, and it is education in the pet world here today. And
yes.
So one person at a time.
I love that. You guys are so wise. Yes, Keefer.
For myself, before coming to Nashville, I was in Orlando, Florida, where I worked for Disney for a few years. I heard you mention that, Candace. I worked for Disney as well. I worked for Universal Studios.
I guarantee you had a better job than I had. I guarantee you. When I say I work for Disney, I actually worked in the food court at the All-Star Resort. So making food. So.
I had a pretty good job at Disney. It was fun. While I was in Orlando, I also worked and performed with an improv theater company called SAC Comedy Lab, sort of like if you've seen the TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Mm-hmm. So we would do 7 shows a week, 5 nights a week, and often performing with improvisers from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, whatever. And one of the tenets of improvisation is to say yes to whatever is offered up on stage. And that's something that I try to bring into the retail environment. Is we're so quick to say no. We say yes to the customer is always right, but when we're working with other people in the business or with other vendors, distributors, we're always looking for that, well, that can't work. We can't do that. That won't work. And instead, if we just try to say, we can't always say yes, but if we at least start with, yes, I understand what you're asking me to do, I can do this instead. If we start with a yes and try to find a compromise, a workable solution, things like that, I always find that once you say no, that just kind of stops momentum. But if you say yes, it just keeps things moving forward. And that's something I try to bring from my past experience.
And that
sometimes it blows up in my face.
Yeah, but I think it works though. I've seen that strategy in play a couple times with some of my team members where they said yes, and I was like, we don't do that, but they spun it as like still solving the solution for the customer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn that skill.
Yeah, and especially dealing with the customer, even if you just start what you're saying by, yes, I understand what you're asking me.
Yes. Yes.
That's the customer wants to be understood first and foremost, so that goes a long way.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Tammi.
I agree with everyone. Something Terri say and Candace say that I think is really important, that I feel like teamwork is important, especially even in the retailer. Sometimes we say yes to the customer and the distributor doesn't follow up, or we can't get help from them, and it's kind of stuck to. I myself, usually I tend to have a habit of saying yes to the customer. Even if I say I don't have that or I don't know that, let me find out the answer for you. Or if they ask me something that so I learn from my customer as well too. And a lot of time trying to turn around and ask for other resource from our distributor on certain things, products or certain things that customer needed. Sometimes you don't have that resource or helpful from them. So it's kind of tricky, but teamwork is definitely important in our industry, because there's so many things, that's coming out that we need to be more acknowledged and stuff like that too. So yeah, I agree.
I love it. Okay, so now I want to hear what it is that you do that you think your previous job could learn from. What is it now that that is something that you have a quality or trait that you've possessed naturally, or that you've crafted and worked on, or maybe it's a policy you have at your business, something that you do that you know is awesome and works good for your business that either your previous job or most people don't do in their business?
Can I start?
Yeah.
I used to work for a company that every time when something's not done right, they tend to find somebody to point fingers per se. And I think it's really hard to have such a strong team, because like for me, now that I own my companies, I don't look at who did it wrong. I think that if there's something that customers not happy, they're unhappy with our services overall, and we need to kind of learn from it rather than, pick on that one person or point somebody else and say, oh, it's that person's fault. So in my company, we try to be very more productive and working together as a team. It's not easy to do that, and sometimes I have to trying to set as a role model and trying to do things that more like, hey, we need to change this as a whole team, and not just an incident that we say, oh, that one person's are at wrong. So everything we do, we try to incorporate everybody together. We do have team staff meeting regularly, and trying to learn from our mistake, and trying to we always say things that as a team, like and instead of just like, oh, that one department or that one area. So that's, to me, I think that I work in a company before that their lack of that. So I think that I have a fortunate to have my own company that I can, be able to incorporate that, because I think it's important in a small business or even a big business as well too.
Yeah, the word, using the word we instead of my company, saying our company, or using the word team member instead of employee, those are some big shifts. And I think that it helps us even as entrepreneurs to, when we say that word, it reminds us that it's not just us in charge, that everybody plays a role. So that's really good. And I also
like Terri is too. Sorry, that I don't work at the shop all the time. So I want my staff to know that whatever they do, they really contribute to the companies, and they're accountable for it. So I'm kind of agree to Terri in that kind of sense too.
And you mentioned that you have regular company meetings. That is definitely something not a lot of people do. Again, I go to a lot of retailers, and that's one of the things that I think starts to help, because it's so important to communication and making sure everyone's on the same page, and provides an opportunity for employees to share, or team members, right, to share what they want. But how often do you meet?
Well, I have two. So I have two a grooming managers and a kennel techs office manager. So I meet with them on pretty much weekly. Every week I will talk to them. Unless it's something really need to express in overall as a whole big staff meeting, we try to do that monthly. Another thing I do is that in that meeting, I will tear up articles that I read in a magazine, and I will share it across and have them all read it and come back with me with feedback or opinions and things like that, that they're thought about the magazine or what they learn about the articles. So we try to do that. Holiday, we not always get to do a staff meeting, but I do meet with my manager regularly, and even off hour or whatever, sometime I will meet with them just because I think it's important for them to know what's going on and how we can work as together. And yeah, I mean, it's constantly is our effort, not just my effort, because I know I couldn't do it without them.
That's right. That would be too many dogs for you to handle at once.
Exactly.
All right, does anyone else want to share something? All right, Terri.
Just to follow up with what Tammi said, I think communication is really important and hard to do when everything's moving so fast in the store, and we're all overworked because we are a small little group. So we have a communication book, and it's just a notebook that we write everything down, notes about customers, notes about what we need to order, whatever. It's just our log, and I have to keep pulling it out and putting it up on top to remind people to use it, but it really is a good tool for communication.
Oh, that's great. Yep, go ahead, Keefer.
You know, on the topic of what is good about your current job that you wish you could take back to some of those previous jobs, that's really the thing for me is communication. That's something that in every business, any organization can always be better and should always be improving on. I feel like the Nashville Pet Products is really focused on improving the communication with the store managers, the upper management, everything. We have a monthly meeting with all of our managers, and that was actually today. So I'm still recovering from that, but it actually was a really good meeting. We have some really good input and some good sessions now. So yeah, the communication is key. It's just so important. And a lot of people think, well, you know, I've got a really good idea, I'm going to keep that to myself. No, tell somebody about it. They might add something cool that you wouldn't have thought of on your own, you know?
Sure, and I'll finish it up. I think in corporate America in general, individuals. I like individuals, and I think corporate America sometimes looks down on people being individuals. Obviously, you have a job to do and goals to hit and stay within that realm. But I think a lot of times corporate America looks down on that. So valuing people and their individual talents and who they are. I don't have a big team like you guys have yet. I only have a few people, so I aspire to grow to where you guys are at. Because I think I do really well within teams, but that would be the number one thing that I focus on in my business with my customers and the people that work for me now, is that I allow them to be individuals and own what they do and deliver. And I think that's what we forget a lot of times in corporate America.
Yeah, I love everything you guys have shared, and I would like to wrap it up now. We've got 10 minutes left and I would love, again, if our audience has any questions, we've got some pretty amazing minds on here. So please, if you've got a question, just type it in the chat and we'll get to them in a little bit. Our next question, I think I skipped one here. I had this one, I thought, let's see, let me go back. Because I want to share all of your resources and what has inspired you or motivates you or keeps you going here with all this, or kind of what inspired you to be as strong of a leader as you are within your company. I know that Adrian's already shared his faith gets him through a lot. What else? Does anyone else want to share kind of what pulls them through or what's inspired them along the way?
Sure, I will.
Sure.
Way back when I was working for Apple, someone said something to me that really struck my core, and that is, when what you want is more important than what you have, you'll have what you want. And I had to think about that, and I think about it every time I'm in a situation that doesn't feel right to me, I just say to myself, when what I want is more important than what I have, I'll have what I want. It could be talking to somebody on the phone, working with a customer. It doesn't matter. It motivates me to do the right thing for me and my business. It's my motivator. It's my mantra. You know, that's the little birdie in my ear. Yeah.
That's great. The Tammi, you look like you were going to say something.
Oh no.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Keefer.
I'll say, just on that, I think it's really important just to have a good work-life balance. We hear a lot about that, and I generally, when I'm working a job, I love what I'm doing, and so I could spend all my time thinking about the job and working on the job. But you got to take some time off and go sit in a park somewhere or go play with your dog or whatever. So that kind of balance in life is real important. Luckily, there's always stuff to do here in Nashville, so we have no problem with that.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I was just telling someone recently, they were, that like this pursuit of happiness is almost like you'll never, if you're always looking for happiness, you may never achieve it. But if you could just have balance in your life, it does bring some happiness. Yeah. Okay, I found my question. The reason I'm asking this, and I don't know if we have any answers out there for this, but it goes back to the topic of the hour, which is your previous careers. Have any of you leveraged your previous contacts at these companies or the networks that you have in a way to either build more customer base for yourself in your current business or find new opportunities for you? Because if you haven't, maybe something to think about.
I have a few customers that are old colleagues because sales reps are everywhere. I mean, they're remote. So they found out what I was doing now and they became customers. A few of them I've actually helped their dogs. One of them the dog had pancreatitis and couldn't find the proper food, and we helped her out with the food that helped her. So haven't been able to tap into that world yet and build opportunity, but I do have old colleagues that are customers for sure that came early on that helped me build my business when the flow was a little light. So it was good.
Yeah, I just like maybe go ahead, Terri.
I was just going to say I don't have resources. I've developed resources to help me in my business from my previous life at Apple, but not customers because I was in Washington, D.C., in Baltimore, in Toronto, and now I'm in Little Salem, Oregon. And so I have people who have helped me with my business to grow my business with resources, but not customers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tammi?
One thing that I think that I was very fortunate that working as a graphic designer, I'm able to work in a marketing department in such a big department. And I have met some really great colleagues and they become, friends. And even now, kind of beside doing my own branch and my own marketing, sometimes I need, a kind of refresh and a new set of mind. So I do have a few of my coworker or formal that they're friends. So sometimes I'll call them just to kind of ask for opinions or other things that, I might not know about technologies and things like that in the marketing world. So, it's always helpful to check in with them and, they kind of help out with that too. So advice from them.
I bring it up because I think it is important. It was part of our past, and there's always dog owners in that group too, or people who have new contacts or other opportunities that might be available. And so I thought about it because I was like, oh, I wonder if, if they've gotten any of that. So for me, I mean, I have been my own boss since I was 23. So I don't think I have a lot of previous people I've got a lot of my local community I connect with. But I just remember the days of when I, had this corporate job and had a 401k and health insurance. And I remember going to my dad and saying, so I'm going to quit my job and start painting murals for kids' rooms. He was like, what? And then, I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And he's like, but you don't have any savings. You don't have anything to your name yet. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll do it. And it worked for a little while. And then I had no money. And I just, and then I remember the day that I went to them, and it was the night before we were going to go sign the loan for the bank. for a small business loan. Well, I didn't even know if I was going to have the loan yet. I was putting the finishing touches on the business loan, and I was going to go to the bank and apply for the loan and present to them. And my mom, I remember her in the bedroom, and I was just kind of like, can we go over this one more time? And she just said, are you sure you want to do this? Like, is this really what you want to do? You're 20. At that time I was 26. And she's like, I was asking for $190,000 for a loan. And she's like, you're gonna be 26 and you're gonna have this huge debt. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And you can tell me no. And then, yeah, we did it. It was a struggle for sure. The ups and the downs. It's a roller coaster ride for entrepreneurs. And I know we're all on that same journey together, which is why myself with Pet Boss Nation, we do this, and Pets Plus writes their magazine so well as they do. And we came together as partners to invite the community and peers on, because this peer-to-peer sharing and kind of masterminding is so important, because our competition is not each other and the independents. The competition is the big box, is online, and the more that we can support and make Main Street USA stronger, it's better for all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, I want to know any final parting words of wisdom. You're welcome to share. I know you guys have already pre-shared some quotes that inspire you, or a business resource that inspires you. I'd love to kind of go through the virtual room here and get your last parting words. So, Tammi, we'll start with you.
Okay. I believe that if you love what you do, it's not a job anymore. I come to my shop and I enjoy it all the time. And I think that if you find that passion, it is not hard. There's ups and downs. There's day that I'd be like, oh my God, why am I getting myself into this? But came out, it's so rewarding. So I think that as long as you find something that you really love, it's not a hard, not a hard thing. That would be me.
So, all right. And Terri.
Well, I don't think I'm an expert in anything. And I just have to say, I have learned so much from so many people in this industry, online, in Facebook groups. And I just really appreciate all the sharing and information that I gain and ideas that I gain from everybody. And just thank you for keep doing what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. I love it. I love the Facebook groups, and Pet Boss Nation has one, and Pets Plus has one too. And when I hear that somebody is getting, had a great weekend, or is getting support from each other, or that makes me feel good, because it's about people connecting with people. I mean, we're all just trying to make it work, right? So I appreciate it. All right, Keefer, wise words of wisdom.
Oh, gosh. Well, in the pre-interview questionnaire, you asked us about business books, that sort of thing, any motivational quotes. And so I did find one. I had it pulled up on the screen so that I could refer to it. But right now there's a cat resting its head on my mouse hand. So
I have it. I can put it. Are you able to see the chat feed?
Yes.
Okay. I copied. Is it the one by Keith?
Yeah. So anyway, it's Keith Johnstone. He's a improvisational actor and director and author, and he has a quote about saying yes, which I mentioned earlier, or saying no. He says, those that say yes to opportunities in life are rewarded by the adventures they find. Those who say no to opportunities are rewarded by the safety they find. Mm-hmm. And so that for me, there's been situations in life, career, whatever, where there have been things I needed to say no to because it was a little too uncomfortable for me, and I wasn't sure I could handle that adventure. But most of the time, the opportunities I've said yes to, the adventure has been well worth it. So even though it might be a little uncomfortable or a little scary, go ahead, say yes, see what happens.
Yeah, stop living in fear.
There you go. Yep.
Fear's just an emotion, not a reality.
Very true. Yeah.
All right, and Adrian.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know who we have listening. We may have people that are aspiring to become into the pet industry, maybe even another career path, and leave something. And I've left two important things in my life. Football was a very big part of my life. I walked away from that. And then from corporate America as well, to start something that obviously as an entrepreneur isn't guaranteed. And it's a quote that I look at often myself, and it's from Helen Keller. And I'll read it so I don't mess it up. But it says, when one door closes, another one opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one that is open for us. And that's been huge for me in this journey over the past 2.5 years of starting a business, is stop looking back on what I think I may have done different or lost or whatever it may be, and realize the opportunities in front of me and how much bigger it can be than anything I've ever done. So that's important to me, and hopefully it helps somebody out there listening.
I love it. I love it. I just shared that quote too in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so true. I mean, this actually might be my favorite Pets Plus interview I've done, I think. It might be my favorite.
Mine too. Mine too.
So thank you all for tuning in, not just our guests, but for everyone that's watching tonight. America's Got Talent's finale is on tonight. We are missing that for who's watching. So that's what I'm going to go do right after this. But I want to thank you for tuning in. I know that all of our lives are so busy, and to take this time out to work on yourself and to learn and to support your fellow pet industry professionals is awesome, and it feels great. So thank you. And everybody else, make sure you're getting your subscription to Pets Plus magazine, or check out Pet Boss Nation on social media. And that's it for tonight. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.